feel like I should be nervous right now.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
This was recorded at the Media Joint.
That is so rogue.
Boy, that's a bit rogue.
Is it even that rogue?
I know we've all put our bodies through a lot over the years, so it'd probably be good to see what's actually going on in there. But most health checks miss the big stuff. Everlab doesn't. Everlab is something completely new, a longevity program doing head-to-toe testing and personalised health strategy. They test for what actually matters, like hormone balance and early signs of disease. You'll know exactly what's going on in your body and exactly what changes to make. Get onto it at everlab.com.au.
Welcome back to another episode of A Bit Rogue. In the studio today, I have NBL superstar. Did I get that right? NBL?
I wouldn't go that far, but...
Superstar. Jason Cadee. How are we?
Good, thanks for having me.
Have we done a podcast before?
I don't think we have.
No,
We've
not
spoken
the
about it.
two of us. I mean, just in general, have you?
Yeah, I have, a few of them.
Few? Okay, well, I searched them and I couldn't find them.
Well, it was in that probably period where COVID, where everyone did podcasts, and
Yeah.
I just said yes to whatever because I wasn't doing anything. So I was like, you want to do a podcast? Sure.
So I know you because you played for my team, which was Sydney Kings.
Mm-hmm.
But you have played for a few teams.
Yep.
You jumped around. Can you tell us a quick backstory on your NBL career?
Grew up in Sydney, started my career with the Gold Coast Blaze. So my first 2 years were there. Then they folded due to money problems. And then went to Adelaide for 2 years. Came to Sydney for 4 years, which is where we met. And then went to Brisbane for 5 years. And then just went back to Adelaide for 2 more years and called it time after that.
Did you ever want to play overseas?
Yeah, I went overseas once and played in... outside of Australian stuff.
Yeah.
And played in Greece for about 2.5 months to finish the season.
That's super random.
Well, just our season finishes in that mid-Feb time slot, and then if you're not in finals, it's like the back end of European season. So they try and bring people in to either try and win it, try and make the playoffs, or try and avoid relegation.
I'm surprised that's allowed, but anyway, interesting. Did you ever want to do the Olympics?
Always.
Oh, really?
Just a dream I couldn't fulfill.
Really?
I came through at a time where I had a car accident which hurt a little bit of that kind of stuff. When I was first signed with Gold Coast, it was coming out of the AIS, had a car accident, broke my pelvis.
Wow.
And so that put a lot of things on hold for a little while. And so getting back from that was a big thing. And then also I was in amongst the Australian squad at that time, coming out of juniors. And so I don't know if I would have made it, but I was right in the whereabouts of I'd made a few teams with the senior team and gone away to a few places. And then that kind of maybe slowed some of that process up.
Is the Olympic team like quite close with the NBL, or is it kind of like a different association?
No, it's and that's the other part I was going to say. It's shifted now because a lot of our Australian Boomers players are NBA guys.
Yeah,
so we kind of had this major shift from, for years it was basically NBL guys playing with maybe one or two from overseas to it turned into a few in Europe with a couple of NBA guys to now like we have 10, 12, 13 NBA guys over there.
Was that a part of a reason why you didn't want to stay?
It was more that just the selection process became so much harder. The quality, not that the quality was ever really bad, but we've got so many more eyeballs on people in the NBA and they're playing at that level that now when you go into camps, it's not just two NBA guys. It's like a couple of NBL guys, a couple of Euro guys, and a couple of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 NBA guys.
Yeah, right. You're not the tallest guy, though.
No.
At all.
One of the shorter ones.
No, in the world of short kings, you're not a short king.
No.
But if I saw you on the streets, I wouldn't be like, oh shit, that's a basketball player, you know?
No.
Do you reckon that ever had anything to do with it?
Oh, it obviously plays a part in it. Height helps for sure. I always just say I'm the one that bosses the big guys around and tells them where to be and think for them.
Because you're fast.
Yeah, fast. You got to use other things. Like at the end of the day, the one thing about basketball is there's a place for everyone. Short, tall, whatever it may be, everyone has something they can add.
That's inspirational.
It's just how you add it and can you impact and help other people, really.
Because, believe it or not, I was a netball girl. However, when everyone started to grow up around me, I had to learn very quickly that my stamina needed to increase because you start going from defense to you're not tall enough to be defense. You have to be a center. Yeah,
no, those shifts happen in basketball too. There's a lot of people that start out as 5 men, as in a center, and then end up as point guards or start as the best ones are the ones who start as a point guard and end up growing late because they've worked on all these skills that transfer to being a bigger player.
Can I ask why you decided to retire?
I've played for 15 years. Basketball's been all I've ever known since I was a kid. Obviously, my mum and dad had played for Australia and did things in
obviously,
the world of basketball.
I actually didn't know that.
Well,
you're a Nepo baby.
Yeah, basically. My mum and dad both played for Australia. Dad played and coached at 2 Olympics. Then when I was younger, my dad was a CEO of an NBL team called the West Sydney Razorbacks. So they were a Sydney team that were based here for, I think they were in the league for 12, 14 years. So my whole life has been around basketball. About 3 or 4 years ago, I met a guy named Greg Taylor. He happened to be the CEO and founder of a company called Step One Underwear. We kind of struck up a bit of a friendship in a way. It was nothing really serious. I liked the undies. Me and him would talk about sport or whatever. That kept growing. And then about 18 months ago, he came to me and said, I know you're still playing. I want you to do some stuff part-time for me. I want you to help me with athletes and some partnership stuff. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And then that just grew and grew and grew over like 6 months really quickly. He was like, okay, you're doing this. We're going to move it to this. I was like, okay. And then it got towards the end of that kind of season just gone, and he put some stuff in front of me, kind of said, this is what I think for you. He didn't force me to retire, even though sometimes I try to tell him he forced me, but he just basically showed me a side outside of basketball.
Yeah.
And I've got a young family now, and you start to think what's next.
Yeah.
And I went through the process basically of being, if I play for another year or two, I probably could have played for at least another 2 years. Would this opportunity still be there in 12 months, 24 months? And is it worth missing that?
Did you study or anything?
No.
Yeah, so you kind of needed to take
I did a bit of study, but as I went through my career, I learned a lot about it. It's about who you know, not what you know.
100%.
And then...
well, that's how we met though. Like I started my internship at Sydney Kings before I even started uni. And I'd said that to them. They literally just asked like, do you want to do it? And I was like, but I literally just finished school. I hadn't started my marketing. I mean, all the fuck I did was like make slideshows about the NBA teams and the NBL teams. And then the CEO got fired for when the US merger happened.
When they, Harvey Lister and that.
I had no chance. I was down the bottom of the food chain.
But that's, I've always been really comfortable in environments of like, there's a lot of sports people who hate, and there's a lot of me, like I didn't like a lot of the things where you go to events and you got to mingle, but I wasn't intimidated by those situations, and I wasn't scared of them. That's I think a big difference between, I didn't love them, but a lot of sports people don't like going to them because they don't know how to actually mingle and how to be in that setting. I was never intimidated by it, and a little bit of it was my upbringing.
I've seen you at a Halloween party before. I know how you party.
I was around it, so I learnt that if you can meet certain people, everyone thinks sports people get paid a lot, but they don't really. Like maybe people
NBL,
that play in the...
you don't.
No, but even like a lot of football players get paid very good money. But there is people paying money to sponsor your team that your money is child's money. Yeah. And that's the one thing I think, unless you're playing in some of those big leagues, you can earn a good living, but there is many, many people out there that I do feel bad
for our basketballers because I feel like, let's say in comparison to AFL and NRL, and yes, the footy boys are not getting paid as much as in the US. I do feel for the basketball because I think it's a great game, especially when you actually go to a game. Yeah. It's very family friendly. The entertainment is really like audience inclusive, and it's just a great atmosphere, and just how they do it is like next level. Like I think even if you're like a VIP or courtside or whichever, you buy specific tickets, you have like almost like a corporate pre-game,
Yeah.
like food, drinks. Like it, if you haven't been to the basketball, like actually go to it. But it's just disappointing that in Australia, our athletes are actually not paid.
I
that
just think
much.
it's not terrible. Like the minimum salary now is around $80,000. So like, it's not amazing, but for like kids that do, like say you're an 18-year-old kid, and there's a whole other system in college. It's about to change everything with money because some of those kids are going to be making more than what the best players in the NBL make. But that's a whole other story. But there is ways, and you can play in the NBL 1 in the off season, like I am currently for Bankstown, to keep kind of playing around basketball. Like you can do different things, but you're right. It's not like people are walking into $250,000, $400,000 jobs. There's some guys with that kind of salary, but there's
I can tell you now, there's NRL boys that wouldn't get out of bed for 80.
a lot of those football codes.
No.
But the thing that we have in Australia a little bit, which they don't have to go through, I feel like in Australia we look at sport in terms of, say, soccer even, or football, whatever you want to call it. People look at that and go, it's not the English Premier League. You know what I mean? And they'd say, oh, it's not the NBA. You can't do that for AFL and NRL. There's no comparison. That is what it is. Where if you go to Europe, they support basketball like it's the greatest thing ever. And they still love the NBA, but they love their own. I think in Australia we have a little bit of that, oh, well, it's not this. But to your point, whenever I've said to someone, I'll come along to a game, no matter who it was, or they were coming to a first game after it, oh, how did you like it? Oh, I loved it. It's great.
It's so good.
And that was the thing I found. It's more like once people go and experience it, I love sport. I'm a sports person, but I can go to an AFL game and get bored, or not bored, but you almost forget the game's going on at times because it's down the other end for ages, or the atmosphere dries out. We're in a basketball game. It's like 2 hours. There's stuff going from start to finish, and you can feel engaged.
Yeah. Well, Sydney Kings, if you're listening to this, I'm happy to give back. And if you want to get some influencers through the door, I'll help you, because I have seen a few people we've put through and they're not Brandaland. Anyway, next. Next. I actually want to ask some nitty gritty stuff.
Ooh.
And you're allowed to answer these questions now because you're retired. And you're not trying to coach in the NBL. You're not trying to consult anything. You're working for Step 1, okay? So I'm going to ask these questions. And you can't pass or anything. So.
I feel like I should be nervous right now.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
Anyway, especially because, like, I don't know, I can't remember what you asked me, but I was like, oh no, he hasn't listened before. So, obviously, with we've done 2 episodes about this already, but in the footy world, like, cheating scandals are really prominent. Why do you think in the NBL it is so different? Like, maybe it's because we don't hear of it, but I feel like the family and culture of the NBL is different. Why do you think there is a cheating culture in the footy world and not in the basketball world? Or am I wrong and there is, and we just don't hear about it?
I think obviously those guys have people out there hunting for whenever they mess up.
Yeah.
Like it's like people just want it to happen almost so they can
Like
talk
media?
about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Where I don't know that happens with basketball as much. I don't know that it doesn't happen. Like it definitely would happen, especially in this day and age. Like you just see it everywhere. But I think the one difference is for me, I grew up in a male and female sport. Like I was around girls playing as much as
When
around
you say
guys
female,
playing.
do you mean like the girls playing basketball
Yeah.
as well, or netball girls?
No, like basketball and
Okay.
netball, like all that. So you got to think like where I grew up, all those girls were playing basketball and netball.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friendship group when I was running out around a basketball stadium was boys and girls that were in my same age group.
So you reckon that tones down the misogyny just a little bit?
Well, I just think it's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
Where I just can't see, like, and I did a bit of AFL when I was younger, but when I was doing that, there's only boys around. So I do think it is a bit of a boys' club.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying the same mindset isn't there in basketball. The same things don't happen. But I do think when you think around people's upbringing, I was around girls in sport my whole upbringing.
Wow. That was a better answer than I thought you were going to give me. But, like, honestly, if you walk into a room of the basketball boys, it's cool. It's fun. It's safe. You walk into a room of footy guys at Ivy and you got to fucking walk around with the Glen 20 pretending it's, like, pepper spray. You know?
Yeah, well, I've been around a lot of guys, so you would have that experience way more than what I have. But you do see it. I know I see it with some basketball people too. Like you can see that element of like guys around guys, and they're a sports person, and they do get attention.
Yeah.
To your point, I walk into a bar after a game and I'm with 4 guys, 5 guys that are 6'6", some 6'10". You get attention straight away from guys or girls in terms of like,
Yeah.
oh, the tall guys, da da da.
They must be NBL players.
So it happens.
Yeah, okay.
And so with footy guys, you get the same. I just think there's an element of probably what I said. We grew up around females.
Yeah.
It links in and out, like between all different codes, where I only think that's just started with footy codes.
Interesting. Going back to mingling with the girls, do you mingle with the netball girls at all? Like in terms of what is our netball association called?
The Suncorp Super Netball,
Does that have an acronym?
SSN.
I don't hear many people calling it SSN. I just call it the netball.
Yeah, I just call it the netball too.
So do you guys do any like training camps or anything side by side? Like how are you guys intertwined?
We not as much, but a lot of us, like a lot of netball, basketball girls, like went to netball at a period. Like
Yeah.
one of my girls that I grew up with, Gretel Tippett, was at the AIS for basketball. Ends up being one of the best ever netball players. So I think it was more like netball is very similar to basketball, just
Yeah.
different rules, different things. But like when I was in Sydney especially, like we would hang out or end up at a bar or different things with a lot of the netball girls. They would come to games, we would go to games. Like it was just that kind
That's
of
cool.
Like it was more like we just enjoyed being in that setting, and like we had friends or whatever, and it just turned into like a hangout type thing. When I was with Brisbane though, we trained at the same place for 2 or 3 years as the Firebirds.
Okay.
So when they were in pre-season prior to Christmas, we were in season. So we were around each other for like 6-7 months of the year.
Yeah, right.
And once again, to your point, it's funny how in that setting, different to a kind of a nightclub setting or a bar setting, a lot of the guys and girls just do the classic walk past like, oh, hey. Very few have the ability to be like, oh, hey, how you going? What's been happening? How's the season going?
That's very interesting because athletes are hot. Everyone's hot.
But
Everyone looks fit.
It's funny, but people being able to talk is a whole different story.
Yeah, wow. Maybe we need to do some like network training. I've got one last hot seat question. So, again, going back to the footy boys in comparison to the basketball, over the off season, you hear a lot of like partying and drug scandals, but we never hear it in the basketball. Is that because the boys are more well behaved, or there's just not a microscope?
Not a microscope. It's probably not as, and then once again, it probably doesn't happen as much as what it does in the like. If it happened as much as it did in the footy, it'd probably be exposed more.
Yeah.
I think the element of not as under the microscope definitely helps.
Yeah.
But like I think we've seen one this year with a guy who got caught, and it was one of those things of like it was so rare.
Yeah.
It was like,
what
wait,
was
what?
his repercussions?
I think it was a party drug. It was still in his system on game day.
Oh, that's fucked.
And it was, I think, because it was a party and it was not used for performance enhancing.
Yes.
It ended up, I think it was like a month.
So
Basically,
do you
a
guys
month, no
drug
competition.
test every game?
No, it's random.
Oh,
Well, it's not
why
random. They
would
say
you
it's-
do drugs in the middle of the season though.
Well, I think that's the part, and probably silly on his behalf because he is a very good person.
Yeah.
Once again, sometimes you get a lot of what this comes around is the crowd you hang out in.
Yeah.
A lot of people just
Was
don't
he with
have.
other athletes? Like, was he with his teammates?
I don't know who he was with. I'm assuming he was with probably some people, whether it was current or former. But they didn't get drug tested 2 days later or whenever that was.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, it's the crowds you hang out in.
Yeah.
And then do you have the ability to be able to say no? It's the one thing that I grew up with was like, I'll do stuff that I want to do, but I'm not, if I have the ability to say no to any situation.
Are you a Leo?
No, Aries.
I
My
don't know
birthday
what
was
the fuck
yesterday,
that means.
actually.
Oh my god, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh my god, so me saying 34 is like, I got that.
Spot on. 'cause it changed
Wow,
yesterday.
34 in a day. All right, so you're wearing a Step 1 shirt. You just said that you met the owner. He hustled you to come over to work with you. What is your role at Step 1?
So it started out just bringing athletes on board. Like they're a publicly listed company, so they've done a lot of things in certain ways, and they've basically grown off just being a really good product. And then Greg was like, I want to start doing more with athletes, and then that just role turned into partnerships, which has turned into product development.
You would do product development.
So it's just turned into a whole heap of different
Do you do
things.
like, how do you do like nut testing? Like, is that a thing?
That was already tested well before I got here. So,
okay.
but there's things that have to take place.
You've been awfully quiet. Stay quiet. I was just curious. Like, I was just picturing like a robot that had nuts, and then they put the undies on and see if there's any like wear and tear, or do you get like a bunch of people to stand in a room and wear the undies, and like how is it? Because you don't.
There's all different tests now you can do that like test all kinds of things from washes to wears to
What
everything.
are you product developing? Is it like for air? Is it for?
Well, we just brought out a new, so they're bamboo undies.
Ooh.
So that's the first one. So
that'll go nicely with my toilet paper. I have bamboo toilet paper.
hey, once I get you some, I'm telling you, you won't want to change. They're that comfortable. The whole reason I started was because I got given some, and then I wanted to buy some more because I was like, well, how do I get more of these? And then I ended up, the classic, tagging them on Instagram. That was part of getting a few of them. Greg at the time, even though he was the CEO and founder of it, was still, he's one of those guys that's across everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he still saw the Instagram message. He replied. I was like, who's Greg Taylor? Look him up. He explains more about who he is, and then it forms into this. But I just started, I'm now working for an underwear company. I never ever would have said I was going to do that, but all because of the product.
Yeah.
It's elite. And anyone I give it to, that's the feedback.
I mean, listen, if you've got thongs, I'm for it, but I don't think
thongs?
I can wear, I mean, I'll wear the other ones with skirts.
No, we've got thongs. We've got the whole women's range has built up over the last 12 months. And as Greg says, Greg's like, if you had have told me my second biggest seller would be a women's black thong.
That's all I wear.
He's like, I would have been like, you're off your head, because it started as just a men's brand.
Ah, because
But-
I have seen, like, I've seen Step One on Instagram before, like
Yeah.
people posting about it, obviously, like athletes.
But
Yeah,
no,
what you're
it's been like, for me, like as I said, with my family, like my natural, like if you were to say to someone like, what is your superpower, or what do you just feel you're really good at? And that's just basketball in terms of,
I thought you were going to say like
no,
passing the ball.
no, like in terms of like understanding, being able to speak it to people. Like I feel like whether it's teammates or other, like I can talk basketball and make people understand it to whatever level I need to. And
You can read the person.
and being able to see the
yeah.
game and all those things. So to be working with an underwear company is not how I ever saw anything, but
It is super random. Like when you told me,
Yeah.
when you sent your email and I was like, Step One, is that the undies?
No, but it's become this thing. Like I've just learning there's this whole other world outside of basketball, and going into a publicly listed company is a whole nother world of things too. So to be working within that environment, but also like having the founder of it and the CEO passing things down and just being directly working with him, it's
Yeah.
showing me like it's work experience on steroids.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
Cool. Well, when you said it was public listed, like obviously there's like athlete investors is what they call them.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually so many brands that have like founders and owners that they don't actually own the company. They might have a partial equity to be an ambassador. Like heaps of alcohol and beauty brands that a lot of people wouldn't think. I'm not going to name any in case I get in trouble, but how does that work? Like you get them on board. Do they pay anything?
No,
like
so
do they
what we try to do, because so Greg started out, he was like one of the first and maybe the first or one of the only people that took it to be publicly listed on the stock exchange by himself.
Mm-hmm.
No other shareholders. So you know when you see those things of people ringing the bell, he was up there by himself ringing the bell.
It's a little spectrumy, but I like it.
But people were like, why don't you have, where's the other shareholders? He's like, I don't have any.
Yeah.
Because at that time people were like, underwear, like you're not going to go anywhere with this. And he was like, righto, I'll do it myself.
Have you seen, I'm like, I know this is a competitor, but I'm a mother and I'm allowed to enjoy what I see. But the Bonds campaign,
Yeah.
were you guys worried about that?
No. Bonds is...
To be fair, he didn't sell me the undies. I was just like, fuck yeah, he looks good, doesn't
Well,
he?
I was shocked at how good he looks. Normally you see him in the bloody, just the long...
khakis.
Yeah, that's all you ever see him in.
I'm going to Australia Zoo soon.
I actually want to know how long he's known he was doing that and
Probably
the work
a while.
that went on behind the scenes.
I reckon he had at least
Because are
6
you thinking
months.
he's just been rolling around looking jacked for the last however many years? Or are you thinking this is like a 6, 8, 9 month
even
thing?
his forearms. I'm like, they didn't look like that before.
Yeah, I think he's had a
He knew.
workout person and he's been...
He knew.
Yes. But no, I like that's the thing for me is, right, in Australia we basically all have grown up with Bonds. It's all I wore.
Same.
It's all I wore until 3 years ago or 3.5, 4 years ago. And I got introduced to Step 1 and that was it.
Well, I went from Bonds to Victoria's Secret, to
look out.
Anko real quickly. I'm at Kmart. 'Cause my
Yeah,
dogs
well-
eat my fucking undies.
Well, that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. Anywho, speaking of undies, I actually had a funny memory just pop into my brain. But maybe this could be good for future product development.
Yes.
So
my
my
area.
girlfriend and I were at dinner, and I'm talking like early dinner. She's a little bit of a party animal. She rolled in from the night before
Oh,
at
yeah.
someone else's house.
Yep.
And we're sitting there, and the waiter, he keeps looking at us, and I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, he thinks we're hot. He ends up coming over, and he's like, oh, did one of you just drop your undies? And it's like, discharge up. Had her undies in her sleeve from the night before, and they fell out of her sleeve, and they were just sitting there. So that made me think, you guys like need to develop an underwear. This probably could be scientifically impossible, but like when girls, because this happens, right? It's normal for girls to have discharge in their underwear. Can we make it disappear at all?
Hey, Greg always says nothing is impossible. We can do anything.
I'd love that.
So-
I hate.
That exists. It's called a diaper.
Thanks, Anyway, but
Hey, I can go back and I'm going to ask that exact question because we've got a women's product development meeting this afternoon.
yeah, sweet, and tell them to give me some royalties if you go ahead with it. This is being recorded as well as
I can-
documentation.
and it's only down the road, so.
Sweet. Well, yeah, I just thought, anyway, off the back of that, do you have a rogue moment to share?
Jeez. These questions are always hard because you got to try and think around which and where and what moment. There's one story that has stayed with me forever. And I never told it when we were playing because, you know, when you're playing, you're a saint. You never go out or anything. But we were on an Australian trip overseas. And this certain group that were overseas, we went through the rounds undefeated. So when we did that, it meant we got to skip the quarterfinal or skip the crossover pool games. We go straight to the quarterfinal. So there was like a 5-day break out of nowhere, maybe even 6 days, and we'd been away for like 2.5 weeks already.
There's a lot of things you can do in 6 days.
Well, and we've been away for 2.5 weeks, and you're in the same hotel. The food on the top level was the same every day. Like after a week, and we're all grown ass.
Same girls working on reception.
We're all the grown ass adults who have money to be able to go and buy food and stuff. So we were like, we need to get out of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we started to go out for dinners and do different things. It got to this day, and basically the coaches have said, we played on the Friday, we have Saturday, Sunday, we'll get back to training on Monday. We're like, okay, cool. The next day, we all get on the team bus. We thought we were just going to lunch, but they basically tell us, pack, we're going to go that lunch near the beach. Righto,
What
cool.
country are you in?
We're in Lebanon. So there's also safety things and all these things.
Well,
that have
that's
to take
obviously
place.
why
But
they
that's
had you in
no
there.
matter where
Yeah.
you go, right?
Yeah.
And so we pull up in this bus and the coaches go, all right, everyone get out. And we're like, what? They're like, yep, you're going in here for the day. We've already booked it. Like we rang up, they know you're coming in. So we get dropped off at basically like, it's a Vegas style pool party.
Sweet.
So we're like, okay. And it is going off. And I don't think this was a weekend either. I think this was like midweek.
Weekday.
We walk in. Anyway, the guys knew they were coming. They said, hey, listen, we've got 4 villas. So basically you could book out a villa for the night. It had a connecting, so it had a pool with 4 villas and that overlooked the big pool where everyone's around. Righto, we'll just get that. It cost us $50 US each or something. We weren't going to stay there, but it gave us an area with a spa and whatever. The day goes on, and this is one of those pool parties where everyone's kind of like makeup up. They're not really swimming. They're just like...
Everyone looks like baddies.
Well, they're all just dressed up like... It's not the pool party that Australians think of. So we get to our own little villa. We order a heap of drinks, and we're just sitting there drinking. Then we're like, we should go to the big pool where everyone else is. So we go... Next minute, we're playing classic catches, and we're jumping around. Everyone's judging us because they're trying to sit there and not get wet, but they're at the pool. Anyway, one of the boys is on a floaty on a big flamingo holding his beer. And classic, someone swims under and flips him off it. He comes up and he's holding half the beer. It's shattered underneath because it's hit the thing. So he's like, shit, my beer. And so all the boys are going under trying to scoop up the glass, find the glass.
Oh, that makes my fanny feel weird.
One of them pops up and goes, I think I stepped on it.
Oh.
So he gets out of the pool and he's got a bit of glass just right in the bottom of his foot under the big toe pad. And we're like, shit. And so he just pulls it out. There was towels. Someone ran and we're like, wrap it in towel. He walks around holding like a towel like this, walking around the pool back to the villa. One of the villas next to us had all these guys who were off their heads, but they were conveniently from Parramatta out west. And one guy goes, I'm a doctor.
Sweet.
I was like, what kind of doctor? Anyway, he's trying to give advice. We end up just ringing our team doc. Doc, this has happened. It was innocent. Da da da. What can we do? Go back to the hotel. We'll get you patched up. So they end up saying we can't stitch it. They glue it, do all these things, put him in a boot. He ends up coming back to the place. Anyway, night continues. We go on, roll out 2 days later, end up winning the tournament.
Did he play?
He missed.
He can't play. His foot's going to pop
He
open.
missed the quarterfinal, and I think he played a little bit in the semi-final and a bit in the final. And it was a fair effort because he had glass in his foot.
That is very rogue, but I will say that's in controlled partying though, because you're being dropped by your association. You can't.
Well, we
fuck
didn't
up
really
that
know
bad.
what we were going into. We were just going to plan our own. But
Yeah.
they were basically, because we'd been away for so long, go let your hair down. Just know we train in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so we were there from like 11 o'clock to like 3 a.m. It was one of those, like, we were just there
But that's
all day and all
fine,
night.
I reckon. That's fine. That's safe.
It would have been fine if one of our players didn't
That's just
step on glass.
That's really unlucky.
Unlucky. But
Yeah.
it was a good time. We had a great time. Him coming back out in the boot, like I have a video of him in the pool holding his boot out of the water.
Oh my God.
It's one of my great videos I've got. So that was one of the times where I guess you're on the road and it's not all just...
You're selling me basketball though. I don't really want my son playing football now. I'd
No,
want him to
what?
play
Hey, I've had some
basketball.
really good experiences that don't involve someone getting arrested or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
I actually don't know if I've had one of those experiences where someone's got arrested or anything like that.
have you ever thought maybe you should live a little?
No, I don't really think I need to walk that line.
Hey, listen, you're in the presence of me. I've been arrested a couple times. I turned out fine.
Based off...
Based off the fact that this is my show, you're sitting in my room right now, and we're plugging the brand that you're working for. Speaking of,
Fair enough.
going back to step one, I've got a game for you. It's called the Undie Formulator, which I actually didn't know that you were in product development. So, yow, that was really good of me.
This is going to be bad for me. I've been doing it for a month.
Well, we can send it to the team and show them your progress. If we get chafing, what are we doing?
Well, you won't with our undies because they're anti-chafe.
Ooh.
They got a 3D panel between the legs that stops chafing. That's where it all started.
But, okay, love that. But if we do get chafing, what do we do? And let's say...
Go and buy step one. If you're a bloke, you buy the boxer briefs. If you're a lady, you just buy our body shorts, and that'll take away all chafing.
That answer sounds like to me you get to keep your job. Why do dogs eat girls' underwear? I was saying to you, my dogs eat my underwear.
Well, I think, like, for example, when my dog was a puppy, he would eat all of Jasmine's stuff, but not mine. And I just think it was because he knew who his master was.
Ooh, that might be right in some people's world. However, it's because of the discharge and the pH levels. The dogs are attracted to that.
Okay, that does make sense.
So, hack, put your undies in a laundry basket. Who are more likely to get skid marks, men or women?
Men, for sure.
Women.
Really?
Thongs.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. You got to use wet
That's
ones.
like cheating, though, because it's basically like It's basically right there.
I mean, men that get skid marks, like you're obviously scratching your fucking ass.
Yeah, that's true too.
Be for real.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with thongs.
All right. This is a technical one. You're getting dressed after you've been in the bedroom with your partner. Do you put your shirt back on first or your undies?
Undies?
Good. Because if you put your shirt on first, it's called poo bearing. Or it is. It's so unattractive. It's such an ick. And some people call it turtlenecking, but I have a different version of turtlenecking. But yeah, it's like a massive ick.
What's your version?
Turtlenecking. It's like when you really need a poo and it's just like popping out. But
undies first.
Yeah, you have to do undies first. Like, it's so fucking disgusting. No offense, guys, but like seeing a man put a shirt on and then it's just like his organs. Anyway.
No, undies first. I think for both males and females, you just go undies first because some people only put undies back on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like girls, it's better. Like girls like wearing an oversized tee, no undies, hot.
That's different. That's
guys
a
putting a
thing.
shirt on and poo bearing. Anyway, well, on that note,
I passed somewhat. The thong one's a good one. I didn't know that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Did you pass? I mean, it wasn't really a yes or no thing. I just was letting everyone know how smart I am. Whilst incorporating step one. I passed, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Well, thank you so much for coming in the studio. Congrats on a very great and successful career in the NBL, making waves, and now in undies.
Well, we've spoke about me coming on here for quite a while now.
A long time.
It is nice to finally...
Well, welcome back to Sydney.
Yeah, it's been good. Sydney's home, so I'm enjoying settling. I haven't settled back in yet, but settling back in.
Well, congrats, and thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to A Bit Rogue, where we uncover the stories of athletes, artists, and celebrities with their most rogue moments. Episodes dropping every Wednesday.